Hello Knit Chats friends. Today's tips and tricks, I'm going to show you how to do tubular cast on. And for my tubular cast on, I've got a piece of stitch saber, I've got my needles, I've got an extra needle, and I've got my yarn here. So I'm going to start with a provisional cast on. You can really use any provisional cast on you like to do this, but this is a nice one that I'm using my stitch saber cord. So I'm going to take my knitting needle and I'm going to wrap my yarn around my knitting needle. So that's my first stitch. I'm going to go underneath my cord, and so that's my first stitch on my cord. I'm going to go over top of the knitting. So I've got, now you can see the slip knot doesn't count. I've got two needles on top and one stitch. I've got two stitches on top. I've got two stitches on bottom, so I'm going to get 3 stitches on top, 3 stitches on bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 and 5. So my stitch is coming out from the bottom. I'm going to turn my work here, get all the things out of the way so you can see. I've got the other end of my knitting needle, and let's take a quick look at again. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on top. I've got 1, 2, 3. You should see I've got 1, 2, 3. Okay, here it's my 5th stitch on the bottom. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and my 5 stitches on the bottom. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on top, and now I'm ready to go. I'm going to start off by purling my first stitch. So I'm going to need my yarn here in the front. I'm going to purl my first stitch. You could be really using any provisional cast on you like, but what I like about this provisional cast on is it's going to make it really easy. You can do a provisional cast on where you use a like a chain from crocheting, or you can use a provisional cast on like you could use Judy's Magic cast on. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's my 5th stitch on the top. I've still got 5 stitches on the bottom. I'm good. We're going to get rid of the slip knot toward the end. So I just purled my first row. Then I'm going to knit my next row. So what's really interesting to keep in mind about this cast on is that we have half as many stitches as we want. So we're going to start off by working 3 rows, a purl row, a knit row, and a purl row. And that's with only half the number of stitches we're going to want at the end. So right now I have 5. So I'm going to end up with a provisional cast on here with 10 whole stitches. So I've purled a row, now I'm going to knit a row, and then I'm going to purl one more row, and then you're going to see the magic happen. So this tubular cast on is really nice. It's really stretchy. It's nice at the bottom of cuffs, things like that. So now I'm going to purl my row. I'm just doing 5 stitches again. So the goal is we're going to end up with 10 stitches. And when we work our stitches, eventually they're going to be ribbing. So I'm setting up these 5 stitches, and as you can imagine, then it's going to be turning into ribbing. So now, here we go. I've got this little section of knitting here. This is going to get folded over on itself, but I need to get these bottom stitches here onto a knitting needle. So I'm going to drop off. I've got my yarn here, my working yarn in the back. So here's my working yarn somewhere in the back. It's orange. All the yarn is orange. I've got my working yarn out of the way. I'm going to drop this slip knot right here off because I'm not needing that. I'm going to take my stitch saver cord, and I've got my extra spare knitting needle here. I'm going to insert the tip into the end. I'm going to pull this on. So now I've got my stitches off of my saver cord onto my knitting needle. I am going to fold my work in half, and this is the magic of this technique. So I'm going to fold my work in half. Half of my stitches are on my extra needle, half is on my working needle, and now I'm going to be working from the 2 needles. I'm going to knit the first stitch. That's my regular stitch. Now, ribbing. So I'm going to move my yarn to the front, and then I'm going to get my next stitch purlwise, and I'm going to get that from my back knitting needle. So then I will purl that stitch. My next stitch knitwise, I'm going to take it from my front needle. I will knit it. My next stitch, I'm just going to purl. I'm going to get that stitch from my back needle. Let's get this extra yarn out of the way. So now I will purl this next stitch. My yarn is being splitty. So I'm ready for my next stitch. Yarn goes to the back. I am going to knit my next stitch. Let's try that again without splitting the yarn. Okay, it always does this for the videos. It didn't do this for the practice. So let's do our next stitch. Take that knot off the needle. I'm going to purl my next stitch. You notice how I'm kind of using my thumb to secure the knitting needles, because it's sort of kind of when you work a 2-needle bind off as a 3-needle bind off and you've got 3 needles going on. So my next stitch is going to be coming from my front needle. Let's work that stitch by knit. My next stitch is coming from the back needle. I will purl that stitch here. And then my final 2 stitches will be a knit stitch from the front needle and I can drop that needle, and now finally I will purl the final stitch off of my back needle. So there's our tubular cast on. It's got that really nice bottom edge, again really nice for the bottom of ribbing, things like that. The trick is, it's a very stretchy cast on, but the trick is you cast on half as many stitches as you need, and then you end up working, make a small section of stockinette. You start purl, knit, purl, and then you knit every other stitch, and you're ready to work your ribbing. I hope that works for you all. Let me know how it goes. Thanks a lot.